The police narcotics unit said the drug distribution network had gone completely mobile. No fixed locations, no predictable patterns. What they didn't know was that the answer was driving an ice cream truck through residential areas every day, recognizing drug coordination through the eyes of someone who had spent nearly 2 decades investigating criminals who used legitimate businesses to mask illegal distribution operations. Welcome to The Human Stories. Before we begin this powerful story of protecting neighborhoods from drug dealers who exploit family-friendly businesses, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. These stories matter. The Sweet Dreams ice cream truck began its daily route at 2 p.m., winding through residential neighborhoods where the familiar melody of Turkey in the Straw drew children running from backyards and front porches, their faces bright with anticipation for frozen treats that marked the highlight of summer afternoons. The truck served 3 different suburban areas, providing the kind of mobile convenience that brought joy directly to families who appreciated not having to drive to stores for ice cream that made ordinary days feel special. Ray Martinez had been driving the Sweet Dreams route for 3 years, serving everything from bomb pops to ice cream sandwiches with the patient friendliness that made children remember him as part of their best childhood memories. At 58, he looked exactly like what he claimed to be, a retired delivery driver who had discovered that operating an ice cream truck allowed him to stay active while bringing happiness to kids and families in his community. But Ray's observation of customer interactions went far beyond normal ice cream sales. While most mobile vendors focused on serving children, managing inventory, and maintaining positive relationships with families along their routes, Ray automatically monitored adult behavior patterns that could indicate criminal activity disguised as legitimate business transactions. What the neighborhood families didn't know was that Ray Martinez had never been a delivery driver. For 17 years, he'd been Detective Ray Martinez, Narcotics Division, specializing in mobile drug operations, street-level distribution networks, and cases where criminals used legitimate businesses like food trucks, delivery services, and mobile vendors to coordinate drug sales while maintaining the appearance of normal commercial activity. His retirement 3 years ago had been earned through nearly 2 decades of investigating drug crimes that destroyed communities. His ability to recognize narcotic distribution patterns had been permanent. 2 rocket pops, please, said 8-year-old Emma Chen, holding crumpled dollar bills, while her younger brother pointed excitedly at the colorful selection displayed on the truck's side panel. Coming right up, Ray said, but his attention was on the adult man standing near the street corner who had been waiting for the ice cream truck at the same location for the past 3 days, without ever purchasing anything or bringing children to buy treats. What bothered Ray wasn't adults buying ice cream. Plenty of parents and grandparents enjoyed frozen treats along with their kids. What concerned him was the pattern of adult interactions that didn't match legitimate customer behavior, but resembled the coordination techniques he'd seen in mobile drug operations. Over the next week, Ray found himself conducting the kind of covert observation that had characterized his narcotics career. Not obvious surveillance, just the systematic documentation of interactions that distinguished normal ice cream sales from criminal coordination disguised as legitimate commercial activity. The pattern was becoming clear. Certain adults appeared at specific locations along his route, not to buy ice cream, but to exchange brief conversations and small packages with people who approached the truck during predictable time windows. The interactions looked casual, but followed the timing, positioning, and exchange methods that Ray recognized from mobile drug distribution investigations. Most concerning, the coordination was using his legitimate ice cream route to organize neighborhood drug sales while exploiting the family-friendly nature of his business to avoid suspicion from residents who trusted that ice cream trucks represented innocent commercial activity rather than criminal coordination. "Ray," said Maria Santos, a regular customer whose children bought ice cream 3 times a week, "I've noticed some strange adults hanging around when you come by. They don't seem to have kids and they never actually buy anything." Ray had heard similar observations from parents during his narcotics career, residents noticing adult behavior that didn't match normal neighborhood activity, but not understanding that they were witnessing drug distribution coordination. "What kind of behavior?" Ray asked, though he already knew the adults Maria had noticed were part of the network he'd been documenting. "Just lurking. They show up right when your music starts, have quick conversations with people, then disappear. It doesn't feel like normal ice cream truck customers." Ray's training immediately activated. Parents who noticed lurking adults during ice cream truck visits were often observing street-level drug coordination that exploited mobile vendor schedules to organize distribution while maintaining plausible cover. That evening, Ray did something he hadn't done since his official retirement. He called a number that connected him to people who still fought the battles he'd once led. "Narcotics Division, Detective Lisa Rodriguez speaking." "Lisa, this is Ray Martinez." There was a pause. "Ray? How's the ice cream business treating you?" "Sweetly," Ray said, sitting at his kitchen table with route logs and customer observations that looked like normal business records but represented potential evidence of mobile drug distribution. "Lisa, I need to report suspected narcotic distribution involving mobile coordination through legitimate vendor operations." Detective Rodriguez had worked with Ray for 9 years before his retirement. She knew that when Ray Martinez called about suspected narcotic distribution, it meant drug dealers were using legitimate businesses to coordinate neighborhood sales while exploiting community trust. "What are you seeing?" Ray provided details with the precision that had made him legendary in narcotics investigations. Distribution patterns, coordination timing, operational indicators, and criminal techniques that suggested organized drug sales rather than normal ice cream truck customer interactions. "Ray," Rodriguez said after he finished, "will coordinate with street crimes and mobile surveillance units. Can you maintain normal operations while we develop the investigation?" "Affirmative," Ray said. "But they're expanding operations. Based on the coordination patterns and timing, they're planning to use additional mobile vendors and maybe coordinating with dealers in other neighborhoods." What happened next was 17 years of narcotics investigation expertise compressed into the most important ice cream route of Ray's civilian life. He returned to the Sweet Dreams truck the following afternoon, not just as a vendor serving frozen treats to children, but as an experienced detective conducting surveillance in an environment where drug dealers thought their coordination was invisible among legitimate commercial activity. Over the next month, Ray coordinated with Detective Rodriguez's team to document a comprehensive mobile drug distribution network that was using ice cream truck routes, food vendor schedules, and other legitimate mobile businesses to organize street-level sales while exploiting family-friendly commercial activities to avoid detection. "We've arrested 12 suspects, including 3 other mobile vendors," Rodriguez told him during a briefing at his truck after the operation concluded. The distribution network was generating over $100,000 monthly through coordinated neighborhood sales while using legitimate mobile businesses as coordination hubs and operational cover. "Community impact assessment?" Ray asked. They were systematically targeting family neighborhoods where parents trusted mobile vendors, using ice cream truck schedules and food service routes to organize drug sales in areas where children played and families felt safe. "Your identification of the coordination pattern prevented what could have been complete criminal infiltration of legitimate mobile commerce." The investigation revealed that the mobile drug distribution network had been operating for over 18 months, progressively expanding from individual dealer coordination to organized criminal enterprises that exploited legitimate mobile businesses while corrupting neighborhoods that families trusted to be safe for their children. Local news covered the story as a major mobile drug bust by narcotics authorities, with no mention of the ice cream truck driver who had recognized the distribution patterns or the narcotics veteran who had provided the expertise that protected family neighborhoods from drug dealers who exploited children's favorite summer businesses. A few weeks later, the Mobile Vendors Association approached Ray about developing security protocols for preventing criminal exploitation of legitimate mobile businesses. "Mr. Martinez," said Mobile Vendors Director Patricia Williams, "we understand you have extensive experience in recognizing concerning customer behavior patterns." Ray looked out the window of his truck at the neighborhood where children could again enjoy ice cream without their favorite summer tradition being corrupted by drug dealers, where families could trust that mobile vendors represented legitimate business rather than criminal coordination. He said simply, "We'd like to implement enhanced awareness training for mobile vendors to recognize drug coordination indicators. Would you be willing to help develop those protocols?" "Of course," Ray replied. Protecting legitimate mobile businesses from criminal exploitation is everyone's responsibility, especially when drug dealers try to use family-friendly services to coordinate neighborhood distribution. What the Mobile Vendors Director didn't know was that she'd just asked one of the region's most experienced mobile narcotics investigators to design security systems for protecting legitimate vendors from exactly the kind of drug coordination Ray had spent his career fighting. Ray never told neighborhood families about his narcotics background or the mobile drug operations he'd investigated. He never mentioned the distribution networks he'd dismantled or the street dealers he'd helped prosecute for exploiting legitimate businesses to coordinate neighborhood drug sales. He just drove his ice cream truck every afternoon, served frozen treats that brought joy to children, and quietly watched for interaction patterns that indicated drug dealers were using his legitimate business to coordinate criminal activity in family neighborhoods. But word spread through law enforcement that if anyone noticed unusual adult behavior around mobile vendors or suspected drug coordination involving legitimate businesses, they should probably consult with the driver of the Sweet Dreams ice cream truck. Not officially, of course, just as a professional courtesy to someone who understood how mobile drug operations worked. Every afternoon from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., Ray continued his route. He served ice cream that made children happy, maintained positive relationships with families who trusted his business, and monitored his neighborhoods with the kind of vigilant observation that had kept him at the forefront of narcotics investigation for nearly 2 decades. Most afternoons, the biggest challenge was keeping enough inventory to satisfy demand and ensuring that every child who wanted ice cream could afford their favorite treat. But some afternoons, when his trained instincts recognized patterns that indicated drug coordination, Ray Martinez was exactly where he needed to be, between innocent families and drug dealers who would exploit children's favorite businesses to coordinate neighborhood criminal activity. Because that's what you do when you've spent your career investigating mobile drug operations. You don't stop protecting communities when you retire, you just find a new way to ensure that legitimate businesses serve families rather than criminal networks. And sometimes the most important drug prevention in a neighborhood happens from the window of an ice cream truck driven by someone who knows exactly what mobile drug coordination looks like and refuses to let dealers exploit family-friendly businesses in any community he serves. Ray had spent 17 years investigating drug networks that used legitimate mobile businesses to coordinate neighborhood distribution while exploiting community trust. Now he spent his retirement ensuring that one ice cream route remained a source of childhood joy rather than criminal coordination. The mission was the same. The neighborhoods were the same. The only difference was that now, instead of investigating mobile drug crimes after they corrupted communities, He was preventing coordination by recognizing the patterns before dealers could establish distribution networks. And every afternoon, as children enjoyed frozen treats that marked the best part of summer days, Ray Martinez drove with the eyes and experience of someone who knew the difference between legitimate customer interactions and criminal coordination, ready to protect both his business and the families who trusted that ice cream trucks represented innocent summer fun rather than drug distribution coordination. So the next time you hear an ice cream truck playing its cheerful melody through your neighborhood, remember that the person bringing joy to children might have expertise far beyond serving frozen treats. The driver ensuring your kids have safe summer memories might be the same person who spent their career investigating drug dealers who would exploit family-friendly businesses to coordinate criminal activity. Have you ever met someone like Ray, someone whose retirement work perfectly positioned them to protect communities using their professional expertise? Share their story in the comments below. Tell us about the quiet professionals who never stop ensuring that businesses children love remain innocent rather than corrupted by criminal exploitation. Thank you for watching The Human Stories. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it with someone who believes in protecting family neighborhoods from drug distribution. Because the world needs more people like Ray Martinez, professionals who understand that some protection is too important to end with retirement. Until next time, remember that guardians come in all forms. Sometimes they wear police badges and investigate drug crimes. Sometimes they drive ice cream trucks and watch for criminal coordination. But they're always protecting families from drug dealers, always ensuring that children's favorite businesses remain innocent rather than exploited by criminal networks. And sometimes, the most important drug prevention in your neighborhood comes from someone who spent their career learning exactly how mobile drug operations work and refuses to let dealers coordinate criminal activity in any community where children trust ice cream trucks to bring them summer happiness.